Hey, all, Bryan VantHof here with RE/MAX Advantage Plus and Ramsey Trusted, back for yet another weekly market update. I do apologize for being a day late on this, as I was traveling yesterday and did not get the opportunity to get this put together. As many of you may know, I am licensed in Florida. I'm actually the managing broker of the RE/MAX office in Florida. So I was just coming back from there yesterday after doing a little bit of work down there. Our office does cover areas all the way up and down the west coast of Florida, from Tampa all the way down to Marco Island, which would include places like Marco, Naples, Fort Myers, Estero, Punta Gorda, Port Charlotte, Sarasota, Bradenton, Clearwater, all the places kind of up and down that west coast. After the sub-zero temperatures that we had last week, maybe some of you are maybe even considering a move or a vacation to someplace that's a little bit warmer, like the Sunshine State. Prices in Florida are coming down, so home prices are becoming a little bit more affordable. We still have the insurance issue, but the insurance issue seems to be a nationwide problem, not just a Florida problem. But I do think we are going to see some relatively reasonable price reductions here in Florida here, maybe another 5 to 7% of a downward trend in prices in Florida here over the next couple of years. So if you're thinking of buying or selling a home, or buying a home in Florida, I think there are some opportunities to be had in Florida here at this point, or even over the next 24 months or so. At the end of the video here a little bit today, I'm going to talk a little bit about Florida and Minnesota as far as retirement goes, why people are choosing both states as the top two places to retire according to WalletHub for 2025 in the country, and why they might be a little bit different as far as their reasoning goes, why Florida's number one, why Minnesota's number two, and not because they're offering the same thing to seniors necessarily. So we'll talk about that a little bit. Let's start this week though with the regular stuff of previously owned homes within 50 miles of downtown Minneapolis in Minnesota. 691 new listings in the past 7 days. That's up 102 from last week, up 102 from the last week of January last year. Of that group, 115 sold in the first week. That's a slower pace than last week, when 146 of 589 new listings sold. There are currently just 117 coming soon listings on the market right now, which is down 34 from last week. The total number of homes on the market right now sits at 3,264. That's up slightly from last week by 43, and just under 600 more than where we were at this point last year. Of that total, 1,772 homes of the listings are single-family homes. That's up 15 from last week, at a median listing price of $467,000. Median listing price is up $2,000 from last week. Days on market of 66. That's down 4 days from last week. Of the total, 722 are townhouses, up 13 at a median listing price of $299,000, up $500 from last week. And days on the market of 60, which is actually down 10 from last week. Condos make up 770 of the inventory. That's up 16, median price at $200,000. Doesn't seem like the median price on the condos really changes too much. But the days on market certainly continue to get longer on those condos at 104, which is up 4 from last week. We are starting to see some marketing times go down on the single family and townhouse side, but condos continue with that weakness. 524 homes went from active to pending, up 67. 325 went from pending to sold, up 1. Really, January has been a very balanced month overall for buyers and sellers. We started the month with 3,311 listings on the market, and up down 47 from that here at the end of the month. So pretty balanced between buyers and sellers, where we didn't see a huge increase in inventory, but we also didn't see buyers like overwhelming sellers with offers taking a bunch of inventory off the market. So pretty stable as far as that goes. That we saw pretty much as many sales as listings for the month of January. If we break it down a little further though, single-family home inventory dropped close to 7% over the month, while townhome inventory rose 1% and condo inventory rose over 10% in the month of January. So single-family homes do continue to dominate the demand, comparatively speaking. Townhouses aren't that far behind, but condos just still kind of hurt right now. So on the mortgage side, rates dropped ever so slightly by about 0.1% here in the past week, even though the Fed left rates alone, that was probably good for the market overall. If they had lowered rates, we probably would actually see higher mortgage rates right now. Mortgage rates are pretty much the same as they were from last week. A good mortgage broker will probably have you right around 7%, maybe something that starts with a 6, but it would be in the high 6s on a 30-year conventional mortgage. We're roughly the same as where we were 30 days ago. 1/8% higher than 3 months ago, just over 1/2% higher than 6 months ago, and 5/8% higher than this time last year. On the showing activity side, we saw realtors scheduling 10,730 showings in the past 7 days, which was about 70 more than the prior week. Last year, during the last week of January, realtors scheduled close to 12,000 showings on properties. So we were certainly more active last year on our number of showings. We didn't have any snow on the ground last year, although things were much warmer last year because there were multiple golf courses that were open in the area. So while we don't have snow this year, we got the cold instead to go with it. Where last year we got no snow and a little bit of warmth. And I guess it's hard to balance depending on where you're at for what you want for winter. We never get what we think we're going to get necessarily from Minnesota. 2 years ago, it was 5 feet of snow. The past 2 years, no snow, and 1 year was warm, 1 year has been cold so far. So Minnesota definitely has a very unpredictable winter, which is different than Florida. It's pretty predictable in Florida, other than maybe last week when they got a foot of snow on the part of the state. You may be a first-time home buyer, you may be a young person. Retirement might not be anywhere in your thought process at this stage, but maybe you have parents who are looking at retirement, or maybe you just want to start planning for retirement, even if it seems really far away. Maybe you're trying to convince family members to consider moving out of state. You maybe don't like the cold weather in Minnesota, but you can't leave because all your family's here. But maybe you're somebody who wants to try to convince a parent that maybe it's time to move to Florida, Dad and Mom, and we'll be right behind you, so you don't have to miss anything of our kids. We're going to make this transition with you and make it a whole family affair, make it a multi-generational move, because that's, quite honestly, that makes transitioning maybe to a new state a little bit easier if you have that to go by. I know from my perspective, and I know from pretty much everybody I talk to, it seems like you get stuck in the state that you were raised in, where your family's at, and you just never choose to leave. But maybe if you were given a chance, or maybe if you were given an option, or maybe your dream is to move to another state that's warmer, or maybe your dream is to move to Minnesota, and whatever that dream might look like, there is certainly something to talk about, or in conversation with people about the next thing that I'm going to talk about, which is why Minnesota and why Florida might be good options to move to if you're looking at it from a retirement perspective. Again, many of us might stay in the state we're in just mainly because our family is here and that we just don't want to leave them behind. Family is important too, obviously. But have you ever kind of thought about where you'd live if you didn't feel stuck, quote unquote, where you are? Maybe something to consider. So WalletHub.com is a website that looked at the best places to retire in 2025. In an online article published just a couple of days ago, January 27th, WalletHub looked at 46 key indicators of retirement friendliness and ranked all 50 states. And based on those key indicators, Florida came in at number 1, not a shock. Minnesota came in at number 2, which maybe is a little bit of a shock, but maybe not so much once we kind of get into the nitty-gritty on the differences between the two and why one is number 1 and why one is number 2. They're number 1 and number 2 for wildly different reasons, quite honestly. Colorado, Wyoming, and South Dakota rounded out the top 5 places to retire for 2025. Just for reference, the bottom 5 were Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, Washington, and New Mexico. Florida came in at number 1 for a variety of factors, and to quote WalletHub, "There's a reason Florida is known as a retirement paradise. It ranks as the best state to retire due to its relatively low taxes for retired people, including no estate, inheritance, or income taxes. Plus, Florida receives more funding per senior from the Older Americans Act than all but 2 other states. This funds things like transportation, homemaker assistance, and nutrition programs for seniors. In addition to financial factors, Florida provides an ideal environment for retirees. It has the second most shoreline miles of any state. Minnesota is actually probably number 1, allowing for plenty of relaxing at the beach. It also has the second most adult volunteer activities, 5th most theater companies, and 7th most golf courses and country clubs. There are plenty of ways for seniors to stay healthy and happy, which is reflected in the fact that Florida has the 3rd lowest death rate in the country for people 65 and older." I used to think people went to Florida to die. Apparently you go to Florida to live, right? And maybe Minnesota's the flip of that coin, as we'll get into. Minnesota came in number 2 because according to Wallet Hub, Minnesota is the second best state for retirement, in large part due to health reasons. Minnesota has the most healthcare facilities, the second most nursing homes, and the third most home healthcare aides per capita. Geriatrics hospitals are also ranked as the 5th best in the nation. Due to the great healthcare conditions within the state, Minnesota has the 3rd lowest percentage of seniors with a disability, the 4th lowest percentage with poor mental health, and the 5th highest percentage who are in good physical health. When it comes to overall quality of life in Minnesota, the state has the 10th best elder abuse protections in the country, which guard elderly residents against physical and financial harm. The state also has the 15th lowest crime rate and the 5th highest percentage of people who do favors for their neighbor. We are Minnesota nice, are we not? We will do anything for our neighbors. We meet our neighbors. We don't ignore our neighbors generally. But with that being said, you can see in those 2 paragraphs, people come to Minnesota essentially for end-of-life care. Kind of what I find interesting is that while they came in number 1 and number 2, it's not due to being very similar necessarily to each other. Florida has financial benefits for retirees as well as high quality of life, while ranking middle of the pack for healthcare. Minnesota ranks number 1 in healthcare, but middle of the road in affordability. It seems to me that Florida is for retirees who want to be active. Florida is the place for retirees to go to live out their last days and do everything: tennis, pickleball, golf, go to the beach, volunteer, go live in the villages, that type of thing. Minnesota ranks high if you need healthcare or end-of-life services with less focus on being outdoorsy, active, social. So we got the great healthcare system, but it almost seems like half the year or longer, some seniors aren't able to really get out to do much of anything. I know some do, certainly a lot do. My mother-in-law plays pickleball, I think probably 6 days a week. She's in her 70s. Sometimes it has to be indoors, which isn't a bad thing, but in Florida you can play, we were just down there, we did play a little bit of pickleball, and the courts are jam-packed down there, and everybody is active and having fun. So it's been good to kind of see what goes on, and this introduction of pickleball is really made for active seniors. So it's been actually fantastic, even though it's a loud, obnoxious sport. Kidding. I play too. All right. So those are my thoughts as we head into the weekend. We are just a little over a week from Super Bowl Sunday. Super Bowl Sunday is kind of always the traditional time of the year when real estate really starts to hit the ground and really starts to pick up. With lack of snow on the ground, it's been pretty consistent, but if we had a little bit warmer weather, we would certainly see even more activity, more listings, more buyers out there. But just keep in mind, as a buyer or a seller, it's going to get crazy. It's going to get busy. We are coming up on the busiest time of the year. So it is very important to be having a conversation with a trusted agent who knows what he's doing, knows what's going on, does 30 or more home sales per year, and has a team behind him that can help you accomplish your goals. Let's start having a conversation soon about your real estate goals for 2025. It's so important to be having that conversation if you haven't done so already. Fun fact, 74% of realtors sold no homes last year. 74%, almost 75% of realtors sold 0 houses last year. 2% sold between 11 and 20, and 0.14% of realtors sold 45 homes or more last year. So I think I sold 50. So I'm in the top 0.25% of realtors nationwide. So I'd love to be your realtor too. I'd love to help, love to have a conversation, love to provide you the information and resources to make your dreams come true on this. You want to be working with a realtor who understands you in the market, not hoping and praying that they will find a customer that they can help on a part-time basis this year. So love to talk to you a little bit about your home ownership. Your home ownership is way too important to take that risk to be working with amateurs. Reach out to schedule your no obligation meeting here really as soon as you'd like, but let's get something on the books to have a conversation. But that's all I got for today. I hope you have a great weekend, and thanks for watching.